to me, the action is the juice. It's Mike, it's Fitz, it's Chuck. Shout out to all you unks out there because it is the running back preview. This is the money position. You got to nail this one. Very rarely can you make any money or any return on your investments if you don't have at least one solid anchor running back on your team. So let's talk about it. The most important aspect of this position that isn't lined up in the backfield is obviously those dudes along the front line. Playing offensive line, Fitz has some rules that he's laid out every year that I try and drive home in my brain that keep me kind of balanced on whenever I get out over my skis over someone that's on a really bad offensive line, but I think he's got really good talent. It always kind of grounds me a little bit to see Fitz's O-line rankings because they're directly correlated to the guys that are going to finish at the top of the position at the end of the season. So Fitzy, if you want to jump into the O-line rankings for this year's crop.
So I'll take you back to last year. Just a quick gloss over those. Alvin Kamara was the only guy that finished in the top 10 of RBs that came from a bottom 8 O-line. You had guys like Saquon Barkley. They had the number 2 preseason rank. The Eagles did. He was the number 1 overall running back. You had Jahmyr Gibbs from Detroit. They had the number 1 offensive line. He finished 3rd. Bijan, Atlanta had the 4th, preseason rank. Jonathan Taylor, believe it or not, they played the toughest running back schedule last year. Indianapolis tied with Atlanta for the number 4 preseason rank for offensive lines. Taylor finished overall as the 5 RB. Josh Jacobs, they had the 11th preseason rank. Kyron Williams, the Rams had the 8th. And then you had James Cook coming in there, had the number 13 preseason rank. But that's a pretty strong correlation of guys playing. I mean, it's not always like streamlined, but it's one of those things that, Mike, I remember when we first launched this podcast, it's like the first thing we sort of talked about our philosophies in fantasy football. And it's like we were kind of aligned, like that's something we actually pay attention to.
You're always trying to simplify like the player pool, right? I always talk about this as one of my hacks is like, just find guys you can straight up like mark the name through. You know what I mean? Like, it's like fill in the blank, but the answers are all over here. You just have to like make a couple of decisions, and ruling out a running back that's going to come from a bottom 5 offensive line is like, man, that's table stakes. Let's do that.
Don't step on that landmine. So you want to go low our offensive lines? You want to start at the top?
Go worst to best.
Dealer's choice says the worst. Okay. I want to take a guess. I'll give you guys a few shots if you can nail all 5 of these bottom 5. Those are the ones.
I've not thought about this at all, but I'm going to throw the Texans are definitely down there.
Unanimous last place offensive line every single one. Just real quick, just so you know, what I did was looked at PFF, looked at Pro Football Network, looked at Sharp Football Analysis, throughout the high, throughout the low, gave the minimum, the medium, and that's kind of how I came to this conclusion. And yeah, this is kind of what it spit out. So yeah, 32 is Houston.
Can I put the Miami Dolphins on the board?
They finished 6th to last, but you were very close. Yeah, there was a couple. They had a couple votes for the bottom 5.
Retired.
I'll go Bengals or Jags.
Bengals are number 31. Jags were right before Miami, 26. There's 3 other teams out there that have stinky situations.
Can I go Saints?
Saints have improved. They got out of that bottom 5. They're up to 23 this year. Seahawks 30. They just perpetually. This is where they live.
They fixed it for like a minute there too.
Briefly, yeah. Then they came right back to it. They just don't. They don't believe in it. Apparently.
So we're missing one of the bottom 5 teams, right?
I think there's one obvious one that you're forgetting.
Ooh.
They kind of suck at everything.
Giants.
Yeah, the Giants.
Oh, okay,
yeah. They're 28th. And then the other one's New England. So from 5th to worst is New York Giants are 28th, New England 29th, Seattle 30, Cincy 31, Houston 32. Houston was 32 I think they were 31 or 32 last year, and then they got rid of their Pro Bowl offensive lineman, really the only good lineman on their team. They got rid of him, Laramie Tunsil. So, and Cincinnati right now is dealing with they have a guard that's out for the year. Now he's a depth guy, but those are I have really kind of, you look at Cincinnati and you look at their schedule they're facing this year, passing schedule. These are reasons that I have every single Bengal slotted just a few slots lower in the rankings at every single position this year. And people are just like automatically putting Jamar Chase at 1 and Chase Brown's getting into the second round. A lot of these drafts, I think I've seen him at least. I don't know if you've seen that, which shocked me. And I have T Higgins like way down from what everybody else does this year. And a lot of it has to do with this. So yeah, these are just situations that if you're looking at a running back, I mean, you still have to score touchdowns in fantasy football. You still got to punch it in. And if you can't punch it in because you have a shitty offensive line, it's a good reason to, if you have a tie between the running backs, it's a good reason to click the other running back.
One of the funniest things I heard about the Texans offensive line was the Athletic Football Show with Robert Mays. He was visiting all the different camps, right? I think he did more than 10 of them. And he made this little trip down south and went to Texans camp for a day or two. And he came back and he said, none of the 5 offensive line positions are set.
None.
Not one. There's not one that's just yep, that's our left guard. No one can beat him out.
It's hard to get continuity from a line when you don't have anybody settled. And that's kind of
so funny, dude.
It's just unbelievable. I mean, you look at some of these lines at the top of this list when we get to them, all their guys are coming back. They know who their starting 5 is, or in Buffalo's case, sometimes they're starting 6.
Yep.
So yeah, Miami's on the fringe this year. Now they are Austin. I think it's Austin Jackson is the guy that they're getting back. It caused a lot of problems last year when he was gone. When he was gone and Tua was gone, that offense turned into a mess. And then Jacksonville, at least they're not in the bottom 5, but Jacksonville kind of worried about the running situation a little bit. Then I'll call out a few and feel free to ask about one. Pittsburgh, as we're moving up 25, Cleveland 24, New Orleans, Las Vegas, Tennessee, Carolina, Kansas City. Dallas has been a slow faller the last few years. They're at 18. Like I just said, Kansas City at 19. That they lost Joe Toomey, and that's not a nothing. That's something they've relied on. Going to be very interesting to see how they're protecting Mahomes this year, because Kansas City, that's been one of their backbones, and one of the big reasons why they've made it to the Super Bowl. Of course, they got their ass kicked up front because they face a better defensive line, and
that's the only time they lose Super Bowls is whenever they get destroyed by a team that can beat the shit out of you with 4 guys up front, and then they just don't show up. But they drafted a guy at 31 overall, didn't they?
Yes,
a first rounder. I can't remember if it was Josh Simmons or the other guy.
I didn't make a note of it. Yeah, no, you're right. They did. Yeah. They're paying. It's not something that Andy Reid's going to let slip. Dallas, on the other hand, some of these middle of the pack teams, I'm not saying, okay, they got an 18 and Indianapolis is a 16, so I'm just going to choose these middle of the road guys. I'm not overvaluing the offensive line position to the point where it's going to make me choose. But when you're talking about a top 10 or a top 5 O line versus one of those bottom 5, that's when I start paying real close attention to it. So I'll get to the top 10 here. The Chargers were in the top 10. Maybe we're going to bump that down a notch after they lost Slater. And then, that's a huge loss. But they actually had addressed that in the draft. So they actually, one of the few teams that could actually replace a tackle, an all-pro tackle. They are one of those few teams that have kind of gotten ahead of that. It's like they knew he was going to get hurt. 9 Chicago, 8 Baltimore, 7 Atlanta, 6 Minnesota. I think pretty much. I'm not going to have you guess them because you kind of know who they are. Detroit is one of those teams that has fallen a little bit.
Ragnow retiring.
Ragnow retired, and then Kevin Zeitler left for Tennessee. he was their best run blocker. And now they have a center in Graham Glasgow. He started 16 games last season at left guard. He was PFF's worst guard in pass protection at left guard. And otherwise, they're relying on a second-round rookie at center, Tate Ratledge, if he ends up winning that job. So it could be a little worse than 5. PFF had him 14.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not the same unit they've been the last few years, which is if you're jumping all over a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs and you're trying to compare him to, some people have Gibbs. I bet you there's people out there who probably have Gibbs 1. And
I'm very in vogue to make him your 101.
And comparing him to Bijan Robinson, that is something to consider for sure. And this is why that was probably I didn't have him tied, but I had him pretty close, but that was a nice separator. And then Tampa at 4, although Wirfs could be missing some time.
Yeah. I think he'll be okay. He'll play 10 plus games, but yeah.
Yeah, they're going to start off. They could start off slow. And in Buffalo, again, like I said, sometimes they'll start 6. When I first kind of heard him talking, people talking about that, I'm like, today's football, they're starting 6. They'll throw out 6 offensive linemen. And when you see Josh Allen running around with all that time when they're in the goal line, it kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
They finished top 5 in running back yards before contact last year. I'm a James Cook guy, and one of the big reasons why is that Denver, we talked about. I got a little monitor situation. I got to turn this back on here. Denver is a team. They are very heavy on the run blocking. Like all 5 of their guys graded out, some of the best in the NFL. And then everybody knows who number 1 is, and that's Philly. They have the best. They have the best offensive lineman in football, and they didn't lose much. They lost.
They've got an injury though. Landon Dickerson's hurt though, right? I don't know if that's a long-term thing or not, but
no, I haven't gotten as a. Is it how long-term are you saying, or what's the prognosis on it? Because I hadn't heard that.
Let's see.
While Mike's pulling up, it's Jordan Mailata's left tackle.
Knee procedure.
Right
he might
tackle.
be back week 1. But he had a knee procedure.
Okay. We'll keep an eye on that. They lost Mekhi Becton to LA, which is why the Chargers were still kind of hanging on in there. And, not a team you need to overly worry about, even though they lost their best one. Juergens and Landon, as you said, Dickerson are back. This is Juergens' second year at center. It was first year last year at center, and he played it in Nebraska. We talked about it last year in the podcast, but he had a ton of experience, and he just showed up and just walked into a Pro Bowl spot. That's just what they do in Philly, and I think it's their 3rd year, maybe 4th year in a row on this top 5 list. And yeah, this is why Saquon is expected to turn out another top 5 RB finish this year, and then why I'm very high on these Denver running backs. I don't see any really. We talked a little bit about the running backs, but Denver's going to run the shit out of the ball this year. That's why.
I think they will. The thing that creeps me out about Denver is they had a good offensive line last year, and you can tell me every single running back they had sucked shit, and I'm okay. That's cool. But then you're saying every single running back that possibly played for the Denver Broncos sucked ass behind a great offensive line. So I'm not I don't know, something's not computing for me.
That's why they brought in 2 new guys.
That's why they drafted one and brought in Dobbs. Yeah,
I guess, but I don't know. That was it's weird to me that they couldn't get anything going last year. It was just it made no sense. And maybe it's just that simple. That's Devontae's washed. And I can't remember who the other back was last year. Estime isn't it?
Estime.
And Jaleel McLaughlin's not it. That's possible. But I've also seen, I don't know, especially with Denver, of a decade of just seeing fucking postal service workers go in there and get 1,200 yards. Ruben Drones. Mike Anderson, you know what I mean? Just seeing that uniform and them not being able to run the ball is just I don't know, double compounding the fuck is happening to my reality.
It was Shanahan. It was like Shanahan offensive line equals fantasy success.
Yeah, and they just weren't worth a shit last year running the ball, and no matter what back they tried. And I thought they were gonna. It's one of those things where you're like, okay, eventually this car is gonna start, and they just never fucking did. So maybe it does this year. Maybe they run for 1,800 yards combined, and we're all just like, yeah, it was that easy.
Any surprises on that list for you guys that were maybe have changed your thoughts a little bit about some of the guys you're into at the positions?
I mean,
running back and wide receiver.
It's a little concerning that the Cowboys keep being first-round picks in the offensive line, and they can't get higher than 18th or whatever.
Yeah.
Just keep picking first-round picks named Tyler, and we'll eventually have a good offensive line. And I don't know if that's the way. And they're already hurt. Like 2 of them are hurt.
PFF had him 23 actually. So, yeah,
you can't dump
really
that many assets into a fucking position and it not be a difference maker. Like that is like 101 on sports management.
Lose a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting stuff. I don't know. So who was run off bottom 5 again, so I can avoid those running backs?
Well, I'll give you the
names on those.
I'll give you getting hot, Jacksonville and Miami. So, some of the, we definitely talked about Devon Achane, but Miami sort of avoids the way they run their offense. They throw so quick. It's like no teams don't stack the box against them. But Giants, that's a problem. New England, Seattle, Kenneth Walker, Cincy, everybody, Houston, unanimous.
I think when it really hits home for me is when it's a running back that has a bad offensive line that I'm already like not questioning their talent, but like not completely sold on their talent. And they also don't catch the ball. Like Kenneth Walker, I'm like, yeah, man, I know you can like break 50-yard runs like left and right. I've seen him do it plenty, but I'm like, you can flatline. You just flatline for weeks at a time. And there's stretches of the seasons where defenses figure them out.
Well, even the passing game too, just being able to move the ball down the field, like a lot of, they're running a lot of 11 and a lot of play action, which you kind of need to have an offensive line to be able to protect for your slow-footed white Sam Darnold. Maybe that's why they got Jalen Milroe. I don't know. Maybe they're going to do some weird shit with him. But there's some troubling things about that Seattle offense. But I do love a Kubiak system, just like a Shanahan system, what it does for a running back. So, maybe that can offset some of that. But I do have quite a lot of questions about how's it going to look when they get in and they start playing a top shelf defensive line. Something to think about.
I think I know how it's going to look
on the draft board.
I think I'm pretty familiar with how it's going to look. I think that's like a very realistic crater situation in Seattle, just overall. JSN can still get 100 balls. I think he's kind of, I don't know, Teflon from all this, but
when I was looking at them, especially the running backs, initially I probably would have had Kenneth Walker as my guy, as we're going to get to later, but I took him off the board for this and other reasons. But I've just soured on him just enough where I'm like, I think he needs to drop another 10 spots where he is for me to jump on him. I could regret saying that, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's one of those dudes where you're just like, I'm trying to do something different. And I've seen guys that are in the industry that get paid to do this pick Kenneth Walker enough as like a breakout or whatever. And I'm like, okay, explain to me what you're seeing. Explain it. Explain what is leading you to believe that Kenneth Walker is going to take over and be like a top 5 to 8 running back this season. And it's just trying to do something different than everybody else. I think just a boredom pick. But if you look into enough angles of it and see all the inputs, it's pretty obvious he's gonna be a fine, like, high-end RB2. Congratulations. Like, way to go. And then when he misses that month that he misses every year, you're gonna start souring on the guy and start sending trade offers for him. Like, I've lived
Did you
this
see-
experience for a couple years in a row.
So I guess Milrow, they brought him in to do the tush push
Yeah.
in the preseason, and
Yep.
they third round draft pick, which I thought was incredibly high. Was it third round?
Yes,
Did I hear that
Yeah,
right?
I believe so.
That seemed. I remember when I saw his name take off, I'm like, "Whoa, Jalen
Mhm.
Milrow, third round." I
You
just
know who else is
did I not just
allegedly doing tush pushing?
who?
Tyler Warren.
I mean, Tyler Warren will probably eventually do that, but Mandrews,
Yes.
Oh well, we knew we saw that in the playoffs last year.
yeah, add that wrinkle to his game and have some fun there. But
Why not just have
okay.
Derrick Henry do it?
Yeah, interesting concept. Awesome. Well, cool. Thank you, Fitzy.
Mhm.
So I've got a question that I think will spark some conversation, and it's just a fun thing for me. If I could know the end of season stats for one player at each position, that would unlock the most information possible for me about how this position plays out or the board shakes out. Who would I pick? So I'm going to throw this to you guys at the running back position. If you could magically reveal the end of season stats for one running back this season, you can do it today. You just hit a sim, it tells you. Chuck, who are you picking to reveal the stats?
Well, the easy answer is Christian McCaffrey, and that's mostly going to be a function of his health. And I think if there's one guy who is potentially mispriced, despite the fact that he's a consensus first rounder, it's him. Because if he plays 17 games or 16 games and gets the workload that's expected with all the injuries they've had at receiver, and he's healthy, I don't think there's a way that he doesn't finish near the very tippy top of the position and probably in all of non-quarterback scoring. And so that's, I think, the free square. Fitz, what about you?
Oh, I certainly considered Christian McCaffrey. I just figured we'd be talking about him a fair amount because he's the first rounder. This is the guy we all had last year, very high. I think all of us said this is our running back one last year, was Breece Hall.
That's my guy.
I really don't even fucking know. Like, we all were just sure last year that we were like, okay, maybe he's not ahead of Bijan, but I think we all thought he was probably our pick if we had a gun to our head. We're going to take him over Bijan, and it just fell off a cliff. And, there's a lot of blame to go around. Maybe it was the blocking scheme, or maybe it was in Aaron Rodgers is calling audibles to himself at the goal line. But by all counts, like, they were run blocking pretty well last year, but they also were giving these other dudes a lot of touches we didn't see coming. And look up, and Breece Hall's not even finishing. And I don't think he finished in the top 20 last year in running back fantasy points per game. It was alarming. And now it's now they got a running quarterback. Maybe they have a whole different philosophy, but these running backs are still there in the same backfield. And is it just going to be a complete committee, or is he going to go back to being the guy that after his 9 months after an ACL tear, he finishes at a RB3 or whatever it was?
Yeah, Breece Hall was my initial pick because it does feel like he's living on a little bit of borrowed time. He wasn't drafted by this regime that they have there, right? There's a change with Aaron Glenn taking over, and I haven't heard great things from Breece Hall, quite honestly, over the last year. I think we all think the talent's there, and we all think he can be that dude. But right now, I don't know if he wants to be that dude or if that's possible. The only thing that's keeping me on the hook, I think, is that with a running quarterback, and whenever you do enough read option stuff, I mean, I read the stat last year, whenever getting into it, and there aren't that many read option quarterbacks left, outside of like Lamar and Jaden Daniels. And I guess Josh does it a little bit. If you have an option read on a running play, you add 1 yard on average. Seems pretty simple. Justin Fields is the running quarterback. He can run like almost nobody else besides maybe Lamar Jackson. So I'm gonna leave the door open. He does make my guys list because I like the range he's going in. But if I had to pick a second dude that I'm like, tell me the end of your stats and I'll tell you I'll be able to win every league I'm in. A-Chain is definitely high on that list. And then our guy that we're all kind of debating whether he's worthy of that range or not, Trevion. Would be really nice to know the end of season Trevion Henderson stats. That'd be fun. And then I could just take him in the first or just ignore him, depending on what's going on there. There seems to be no Henderson. Yeah, seems to be no in between. But I thought that was an interesting exercise.
I love that.
My real answer to that question might be DeAndre Swift, because he's being pushed up into this range where, he's kind of honestly a dead zone type archetype now, just a veteran running back that's going to get a bunch of projectable volume. But there's all these moving pieces in the Chicago offense that we're not really sure what to do with the pass catchers. We think the offense is going to be better, but Camp Buzz on Caleb is not great. So, as a proxy for what the offense is going to do, maybe it's DeAndre Swift. And if you tell me that he finishes as a low end RB1, then okay, they're having a great season. They're in scoring position and touchdowns, yards abound. But if he doesn't, and he's healthy, then maybe that the Seattle, renaissance or not Seattle, but the Chicago renaissance that we're all expecting isn't happening.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, does Roshan feel more comfortable in that system, which is what I've been hearing? And if that's the case, does he just usurp them altogether? I can't imagine he's going to completely nuke Swift, but he's been a coordinator for him before. Didn't exactly go great, to be honest. So he's obviously very familiar with DeAndre Swift.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine on how that shakes out, which is why Chuck brought that up, and it's perfect because I've gone back. I think highlighted him as a guy who I had could be a pop year for him. He's a guy who can catch balls out of the backfield. He just seems like he might be able to get some free yards in that Ben Johnson system. But then you start breaking it down, like I don't know how much they're going to run the ball, which is one of those I know you're going to talk about it in the wide receiver portion when you asked us about the offense that they're going to throw a lot, and that theirs came to mind for sure. I don't know how much they're gonna run the ball this year.
Yeah, the DeAndre Swift experience is you take him against your will, and then you ride out like that incredibly just horrendous stretch of the season, and then you get rewarded for it because he's gonna have like a decent stretch in there where you're happy.
He's a 5th rounder.
That seems touch high, but maybe
early 6th.
Let's see where he is. I just looked at it just a second ago.
He's early 63 on
50. Yeah. 63.8 right now on Fantasy Pros. So he's that dude that you can't wait to get off of when he's down and he's not doing it. And then the guy that you're really trying to add if he's having a hot stretch late in the season, trying to buy off that team that isn't worth a shit, So it's a wild ride. There's no doubt about it, but I don't know if I could see like the game by game projection or game by game season stats. That'd be super helpful. Okay, without further ado, are we ready to reveal our guys at the running back position? I'll let Fitz go through his first, and then Chuck, and then myself. But I'm gonna throw them all up at one time if that's okay. And 3, 2, 1, magic happens now. There they are.
The way I approached this was I looked at the rounds and looked at, okay, who am I getting value at the position? And even Bijan I think most of drafts you said have Jamar Chase going 1 overall, and I think Fantasy Pros right now has Saquon Barkley ahead of Bijan, and both have great offensive lines as we just discussed. I just like the fact that Bijan doesn't have a quarterback that's going to steal 13 or 14 touchdowns away from him at the goal line. Going to catch obviously a ton of balls, and the youth is on his father time is on his side right now, and what Atlanta does best at blocking is run blocking. So that's kind of how I was leaning towards Bijan. I don't see too many. You talk about when you have a 1-1, you're like, well, who has the fewest flaws? I don't see any flaws in anything that they're doing that would make me want to. And he's getting all the touches that you want him to get. So I've taken him 1.1, and if he's going even one spot below that, to me, that's enough value for me to put him on this list. And then Derrick Henry. Now here I have Fantasy Pros has him 12. Is that what you guys are seeing?
Yeah, depending on the platform, he's a back half of the first or early mid second.
Yeah.
Can you guys explain that one to me? Why are we still
48 years old and doesn't catch passes?
Didn't you say that last year?
One of these years, I'm going to be right.
That's the thing. I mean, look, I was fading that. I was kind of leaning that way too. I mean, I wasn't going to jump all over him because we hadn't seen it yet in this offense. But I'm like, oh, Lamar Jackson, one of the best running quarterbacks of our time, is taking. You just talked about it, like with the option, with Justin Fields having an extra guy in the box, having to look at the quarterback and what ways he's going to go. All he did was hand off to Derrick Henry last year. It's all he did. You look at the splits inside the 5-yard line. I think Derrick Henry had 95% of the carries. I don't think I think they had 18 carries inside the 5-yard line, and Lamar Jackson had 0. All they did is hand off to Derrick Henry. I mean, can you right now, if you had 13.5 touchdowns for Derrick Henry, would you take the over or the under?
Probably the over.
But not by much. I'm probably on the over too.
Yeah, I think so. Here's the thing about Derrick Henry. The last time, the 1 year in which he had 378 rushing attempts and had the 2,000-yard season, he dropped an entire yard in yards per attempt the next year. Did not get back above 4.4 until last season with the Ravens, where he has 5.9 yards per attempt on 325 touches. So if you tell me he's going to get 325 plus touches again, like that's cool. I'm expecting like 4.5 yards per touch or per carry. And then we're talking about like maximum of 1,500 yard back that doesn't catch passes, which is still really good. Like I'm not arguing that Derrick Henry's a really good football player when he's running the ball. And when you get that many touches, like there is an extremely long track record that dudes lose a yard per rush attempt. Like they all do. Like it's just like it's going to happen to Saquon most likely.
What's the magic number? 370 touches.
Yeah,
that we've. Yeah, he didn't quite get there.
No, he didn't get there last year.
But he's also
Jonathan
Taylor,
billion years old. Yeah,
sure. No, I
2,355 rushing attempts. So that man's body, that's nuts.
He is such a beast. Yeah, he's a freak of nature though. He's like he's like that unicorn. And so Jonathan Taylor, you mentioned like a 1,500 yard. That's what Jonathan Taylor was last year. Was 1431, and doesn't catch much at all. Even caught more than Derrick Henry did last year, and he finished as an RB5. I just look at that. I'm like, these are layup fantasy points to me that are unorthodox in the way that people are drafting for half point and full point PPR. But they just keep fading Derrick Henry. But it's like points, however you get him, it doesn't matter how you fucking get him. You just gotta. You can look at a guy who's got 1,900 yard coming off a 1,900 yard rushing season. How far down is he going to fall? I just don't see it falling that far. And to just completely ignore it, and just be like, it's like you're just looking the other way when there's, the explosion in the sky, and we don't acknowledge it. I'm like, okay. I've never owned him, but this is the year where if I'm in a snake draft and I'm drafting late and I want as I said at the first podcast we did, I want one of those top shelf running backs. To me, he is a top shelf running back, and I feel a lot better about calling his name out than I do. I know Kyron Williams, Devon A. Chain, whatever your flavor is. You're kind of running out of names at that point. I don't see any. Where are you guys taking him behind A. Chain?
I've never drafted Derrick Henry, but even in like a standard league, I'm going to have to capitulate that he's, he's on the first round fringe. I'm probably not taking him over Genty. And then then you're into the Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Gibbs, Bijan, and I'm not taking him over any of those.
No, and I'm not. I'm not taking him over those. No, I'm not taking him over Gibbs. Now in a standard, maybe.
I just don't play any leagues in which it makes sense to take. Like, I'm in so many dynasty leagues, and I've actually experienced this one whole revolution around the sun ago in which Derrick Henry flatlined, and I was holding some bags of Derrick Henry, and just trying to get fucking anything for Derrick Henry in dynasty is just, I don't know, pull out all my teeth with like the worst pair of pliers. So there are a lot of people that have experienced that or don't want him in dynasty, and those dynasty players also play redraft or play big contests, right? We're not just like, oh, here's my one little dynasty league. But then in FFPC, like, and then FFPC is a big tournament, so most people that play that play other bigger tournaments, and they are what we would call piss boys that draft wide receivers all the damn time. So there's just like such a slim fraction of the audience that's like, fuck yeah, Derrick Henry. Like there's no Fitzes out there that are just like getting rocked up for Derrick Henry. It's so few people that it's almost like an insane marketing efficiency, but then you're like, nah, I'm not doing it again. Like it's so funny.
I know.
The conversation.
I've done the same, and I have my touchdown league, and that he will be probably the first player taken. It's certainly top 3 in that league, heavy on the touchdowns. But just the last thing about him, number 8, offensive line.
Yeah.
Okay, so other my guys, Jacobs. I know Chuck was giving us shit 2 years ago because we like Jacobs, but then last year, if you doubled down on him, you got paid off pretty nicely. I know they're not probably gonna run the ball with him as much. Pretty damn safe floor, though. Would you guys agree with that?
I've always been a Josh Jacobs guy. I think it's 2 or 3 years in a row where I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? And there's like nothing wrong with him. And he finishes as like a fringe RB1, and you get him for way less cost than that. I'm not excited to take him. Like, it doesn't bring me any joy. But then I look week 8 and I'm like, yeah, Josh Jacobs is projected for 14 goddamn points, nerds. I feel pretty good about that.
6th easiest run-friendly schedule this year for Jacobs. Another reason to take him. He feels just so safe to me. And I know we've talked about it before. I know Chuck is really big on this. That floor, when you're going those first 2 rounds, it's all about how high is that floor. This one I know is pretty controversial right now. It's James Cook because of the obvious touchdown regression is likely coming. But a 3rd round value for him with that top shelf offensive line and a quarterback that's in Josh Allen, that's his rush totals are decreasing by the year. Still feel pretty safe about it. And then when you look at that contract, that $30 million guaranteed contract that he just signed, I don't think they're going to be handing it to Ray Davis, 40% of the time. I'm pretty confident that Cook is going to get in the end zone at least 8 times with the offense that they have. I think he's going to get more volume. And like, as you said, Machine, when teams show you and what their intentions are, out of their pocketbook, I feel pretty safe with his floor. Now, and he is one of those kind of guys that you look up and you're like, this guy could win you a league. He has that sort of ability. Will they rely on him, like as much as a Jahmyr Gibbs? No, probably not. But he's got that 1st round ability to me. And so I'm like, fuck it. I'm gonna see those touchdowns for what they were. I know they're not going to probably repeat, but I think he can get a lot of those maybe 60% of that, and that would put him probably in the second round value to me.
And he's going in a really nice range this year. He's one of the last guys that I'm comfortable if he's my RB1.
Mm-hmm. He's kind of become Diet Coke Jahmyr Gibbs, which I mean that because people get frustrated because he doesn't just get a boatload of carries or a boatload of touches a game. But he does also have nuclear weeks. Like that's kind of like a James Cook fun little trick where you're just like, well, you know what you needed this week? James Cook for the 3 touchdowns and 125 rushing yards and like 1 receiving. So, I mean, I loved him last year. It seemed like a really dumb oversight for everybody to let that guy fall. I kind of feel the same. I do worry about early season rust, just because all this people just have off years sometimes whenever they have this going on or a suspension or a holdout or whatever.
He was a hold in, at least. That's the
he was there
aspect of that.
Yeah, I think he'll probably be fine. It wouldn't surprise me if he's just 80% of what he was last year, which is exactly where he's being drafted. If he's exactly what he was last year, then he's demolishing that, right?
Yeah, and the last thing, one of the biggest positive schedule flips for NFL offenses for the Bills. Okay, Chuba. What are your thoughts on Chuba? Because I personally haven't seen any reason to fade him.
I feel like it got away with a magic trick last year with Chuba. And I feel greedy going back to it. Like, to be honest, that's like my feeling about it. Because I had a lot of Chuba across the board. And I feel like I'm like asking to get burned if I put my hand on the stove again. I don't know why. Like that's not logical, but that is like a fantasy thing. You know what I mean?
We all wanted Brooks last year to be the guy, and when he got hurt, but the whole year Chuba was just putting up fine RB2, low end RB1 numbers week after week. It wasn't some fluke thing, and he did it the year before. He was doing it too. He was solid the year before. We just didn't want to believe that he wasn't, not one of those top guys that we're calling off every year. And he'll probably never be that. But what is he? What do you guys have him right now? Let's see here. Overall fantasy numbers for
41.2, right in front of Brees Hall, right after Kamara.
Yeah, 4th round all day for me. I mean, they got a good line, 20th on this one, a solid line, not a bad line. I guess is a better way to put that out. They had a better line, a little bit better line, higher rated line last year, and they added a piece with Tet, and I like the way Bryce is looking. I think just more the touchdown volume is going to be there. He catches a fair amount of passes, not a ton, but enough to be respectable enough. He had 54 targets last year. Not a lot of yards, like really like low. I think it was 4. He averaged 4 point yards a reception. But in a PPR format, that'll play.
Yeah, I think the bull case for him is improved offensive line, better offensive environment, and if he gets something like a not exactly James Cook type touchdown, positive touchdown regression, like he could easily end up as a higher end RB2.
Are you guys taking him in any format where he's going?
I mean, I'll take him. He's not preferred in that range necessarily, but I think I think it's a fine pick. I don't have a problem with it. I think the efficiency overlords would tell you like he wasn't that good last year, just got buried in touches, and I don't know. They just expect everyone to act logically moving forward. And if you aren't getting a giant yards per carry, or if you're not going to be in game scripts where people will just let you move the ball on the ground in the second half because you're down by 21 points, everyone just assumes like
shouldn't happen this year.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen. But they also assume like if you're just like not a super efficient running back, you don't get the whole pie next year. And would like to introduce you to Kyron Williams and fill in the blank how many other running backs that exist, because teams are fucking stubborn sometimes. So I don't know. Assuming teams are going to get super woke on how to use their running backs it's a pastime that isn't probably worth the effort.
14.7 fantasy points a game. Go ahead. Well, he finished 12th in
like who is who goes around him. See, he goes in a range where Worthy, Pickens, Terry McLaurin, maybe not him, Jamison Williams, and RJ Harvey's the next running back by ADP on what I'm looking at. And I usually just like other names. It's not Chuba himself. There's shinier toys around him.
Yeah, for me, it's a bit of a running back drop off to me when you get from him to RJ Harvey. I like him better than those names you kind of peeled off, but that's just a kind of a personal choice. But Chuba, for me, it's a good RB2 guy, 4th round. If you just got one and he went 2 receivers or a tight end, and you're sitting in the 4th round and you need a stable running back. He had 250 carries last year, all 4.8 yards per attempt. Just solid numbers to me all the way around, and that is very repeatable. It's not like doesn't seem like there's anybody that's really going to steal a ton of volume from him on 1st and 2nd down at least. So, he's not sexy, but he is so safe to me. I love his floor, and I'm very comfortable calling his name out. Next guy, speaking of the double, RJ Harvey. So if I miss on Chuba and I'm in the 5th round and I need that second back, or if I really want to get greedy and I got a flex position and I'm looking to really nail down what I think it's a potential league-winning situation is the Denver backfield. Should one of those guys go down, I'm definitely trying to get RJ Harvey in that 5th round range, or 5th round value if you're in an auction league, and then getting J.K. Dobbins later. It's a plan. I can't remember what you I don't know if you had a name for it, Mike, but there's something I feel like every single year you have a couple teams where you're like, that's something you're circling going into drafts that you want to nail down. One of those sort of undervalued running back team running back positions, and that's the one for me this year.
Yeah, it's one of those situations that happens in fantasy whenever you have either rookie or younger running back that is going ahead of an established veteran running back, at least an ADP. It always ends up like where you're gonna get a lot of points out of it, because those guys are gonna start for some reason the younger back is everyone sees the potential in them, and so does the team, and that starts pushing the veteran back. And sometimes it doesn't always flip, but whenever you do flip a backfield and it is the rookie guy starts taking over, then they've earned it. They've done all the things to become a good running back, and that's kind of like the point of what you're looking for, right? Like, I think Dobbins is probably gonna get leaned on early in the season, but by the time you care about starting RJ Harvey and he's worth starting on a weekly basis and he's getting like week to week decent projections, he's going to have earned that job, and it's going to be fully his job. And so I don't know, there's always a couple where these running backs are going within 4 or 5 rounds of each other of a handcuff, and you can own both at a decent price, and week to week setting your lineup, you have a running back that you trust.
And so I'm sorry that I stole high round guys, but maybe that's the best way to talk about them.
Big reaches, big reaching real far. We got one guy outside the 5th. Both you fuckers.
I didn't have any parameters on this.
That's where the value is at running back. This is kind of a throwback year for me where I'm really very comfortable and maybe even planning on coming out of the first 3 rounds in most home leagues with 2 running backs, and that's unusual for me.
All right, you want to jump into your guys, Chuck?
Yeah, I only have 2 as the resident running back hater of the crew.
And just discuss him to take more than 2 on any team. Can't do it.
And I'm going to do these in the opposite order. I think my biggest is Omari and Hampton, not the least of which because they do have a good offensive line. I realize they lost Rashawn Slater, but they get to replace him with Joe Alt. And, in a Greg Roman system, even though he doesn't always have the most expected points for the running back position, they're going to have a good run game. They're a smart team. They drafted him in the first round. And if you did no other prospect profiling or scouting other than just drafting first round running backs, you're going to end up with an RB1 more often than not in that rookie year. Oh, by the way, his backup only has one eye.
That's your guy. That's your guy, Najee Harris.
I still don't believe that. I refuse to believe that I clicked Najee Harris as my guy last year. I don't know. I mean, I think it would surprise no one if he finished the season somewhere between RB 7 and 12. Like, is there any disagreement on that? I mean, Fitz is the only one that didn't put him on his list.
I'm trying to think of what guy he kind of reminds me of.
I drafted him in my auction league. I didn't expect to get him, but yeah, sure. I mean, he's great. You talked about the one eye situation for people that didn't know, is that Najee had a fireworks accident. I didn't really read into the story, but it fucked up one of his eyes, and then apparently, like, it's actually not that big of a deal if he just stays, doesn't do anything. I don't know what his workout regimen's been like, but apparently you can't do very much with this, according to optometrists. That I think requires rest, and within what I've been hearing is that by the start of the season, maybe a week in, he should be fine, and there won't be any problems. But what that does tell me is that there's no way he's going to be in football shape. And talk about throwing a rookie into the fire right away. Amari Hampton is going to get that, and he could just take the job and never give it up the entire year, or at least get a good 60% of it. I don't think any of us have been very impressed, by what Najee's done, except Chuck, I guess, because he did have him as my guys last year. So.
He did. He wrote it down a lot. He made me put it on that list. He did that.
I don't think that's true, but I forget what I was going to say now, because you guys are just pounding me with Najee Harris.
Something about him.
No, I mean, Hampton kind of feels like, I don't know, he's not quite the pedigree of like Jonathan Taylor, but it feels like very Jonathan Taylor to me, to where it's like he could have a peak season around the corner, not this season, but like year 2, year 3, where you're like, yeah, man, that's a top 3 back, and if he's challenging for the rushing title, that makes a lot of sense. He's not quite what Jonathan Taylor was at Wisconsin, where he was just like, destroyer of worlds, and that's a different program than what UNC was last year and the years before. But I see a lot of the backs that have reached that echelon out of Amari Hampton.
He runs through a lot of trash. That's the one thing I loved about his tape.
Mm-hmm.
And then my second guy was Trevion Henderson. No surprise, based on our intro pod. But if there's like traits that I will always just be trapped by, it's young, fast running backs who get highly drafted and catch passes. And unfortunately, everyone else knows it now, because his first 2 preseason games are just jumping off the screen. So I don't think there's that much more to say about him. The offensive line concerns, I agree, are, somewhat of a pause, but he is the best pass blocker in the class at the running back position.
Yes.
And
that's a very good point.
Though I like Ramondre Stevenson a little bit, I'm not afraid of him. And I expect Trevion Henderson's talent over the course of the season to win out. Oh, by the way, the Patriots have a very easy schedule.
Yeah, he's fun. I just hope he doesn't leave you on a team that's you're having to start him and he starts a little lame through the first month or something till Daddy Vrabel says like you're ready or whatever. Yeah, I hope
number
Trevion
2 running
Henderson
schedule
works out for everybody. That's great.
As you said, yeah, number 2 easiest running back schedule.
Yep. Well, I mean, I hope he's as fun as everybody wants him to be, because there's a lot of shares of a lot of expensive teams that have put very high picks into him. Okay, I'll shift to my guys. We just talked about Breece Hall. It is a draw forward Uno card at this point. I have no fucking idea what's coming out the other side, but there is a lot of volatility, and I think most of it's good because of they're not going to want Justin Fields throwing that much. They're going to learn that really quickly. And so add an option quarterback, add a lot of running into this situation. And that just makes more yards per carry for Breece Hall. I'm not banking on him being a top 10 running back, but he's also not getting, I don't think he's being taken in the top 10 right now.
Not even close.
He is 41.8 overall. So
okay.
I can
Closer
live
than
with
I
those
thought.
prices. I'm taking him. I'll take him before Kamara. I'll take him before Kenneth Walker. That's kind of like easy stakes for me. He and Chuba are, I keep taking Breece Hall over Chuba, I think. So just where he's going, I'm more comfortable with Breece Hall's talent bets, and then where this offense is going as compared to where it's been. It seems like the most miserable shit that's ever existed the last couple of years, and it might just be like fine. It might just be an okay offense and some level of professionalism. And I don't know. I think people thrive whenever they get the fuck away from Aaron Rodgers too. Like, seems like a good place to be.
Number
guess
one
I'm
running
the
back
one-
schedule? New York Jets.
Jets, nice.
Yeah.
Love to hear it. Yeah, but I guess I'm the only one that's not afraid of Breece Hall, and that's fine. I'll take him.
He's getting cheaper all the time, and that's a Dipperino that I'm slurping.
Over an hour.
17th.
Over an hour. and you
17th.
waited.
17th running back.
To work that in there. O'Marion Hampton, same reasons Chuck just laid out. Yeah, I think Harbaugh is going to have a longer than 3-hour erection, like after the first game that O'Marion Hampton plays, in which he gives him like 18 carries. He's got to call his doctor. Caleb Johnson. I don't understand. I know we talked about it in the intro. I don't quite understand what's going on here. Didn't quite get the draft capital you wanted, but also it's the most loaded running back class ever. On an Arthur Smith offense, which if anything is going to go well for Arthur Smith, it's going to be the running back production. Jaylen Warren does not scare me one bit. Like the dude that just couldn't wrestle touches away from Najee Harris consistently is standing over there, and he's gonna sun Caleb Johnson. I don't know, dude. He was a really great prospect. Didn't catch the ball, so that just people double count the living shit out of that a lot of the time. So I don't know. I like Caleb Johnson as a prospect. I didn't love the landing spot in Pittsburgh, mainly because see above Arthur Smith. There's a cap on that offense in general of how many touchdowns they're going to score. But dude, it could be 800 to 1,000 for Caleb Johnson, and like I don't know, 5 to 7 touchdowns, and you're like, I got a lot of playable weeks in second half of the season out of Caleb Johnson, and I'm glad I took him in. Jesus, where's he going? 71.6 overall. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do
Two
that.
running backs ahead of Jaylen Warren, actually.
Yep. I'll do that. I'll own a lot of Caleb Johnson this year if y'all allow me to. Any fight on Caleb Johnson before I move on to Mason?
I'm not overly like sold on fading him. I mean, his ADP feels right. And I sort of had not an epiphany, but definitely thought about him a little bit more today. Actually, it was just like, you know what? I'm not really paying a ton of attention to him, but it makes sense that Arthur Smith loves to run the ball. Now, what that's going to mean with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback, I have no idea. You know, what is it? Aaron Rodgers is he to blame for Breece Hall's decline last year? I don't know, but we'll see. I mean, like you said, he doesn't catch passes, but I do love your comment about double counting it. Like, we're just looking for a guy who can get me 70, 80 yards and pop in a touchdown every other week. And now he's worth an RB3. So if that's somebody you can get at that price, it's worth plugging in your lineup and roll. Hey, let's roll it out there. And you might, he says he's probably not going to spike too many weeks, but yeah, I mean, he's going around with DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones Sr., Caleb Johnson, Tyrone Tracy, Jaylen Warren. I could definitely see taking him in front of all those guys.
Yeah, I think his biggest risk is Aaron Rodgers, who's going to play very, very slowly. There is some implosion risk with the offense itself, and that could drag him down. But I don't really have much else bad to say about him. He's fine.
Yep. Jordan Mason's next on the list. I just kind of see a very clear path to him getting the majority of the running work. And then the 4 to 8 games that Aaron Jones misses each season are going to be just lock and load. Throw Jordan Mason in your starting lineup. I mean, he was really good last year. First half of the season, he was kind of the guy you needed before he got hurt. So the talent's there. The Vikings have a really good offensive line. I don't know how their overall offense is going to be, which is going to be one of my flip the card over things later. But yeah, Jordan Mason, where he's going, seems like a pretty easy cheat code for me, and I can almost work backwards if I know I'm willing to take Jordan Mason. Let's see where he is going. 87.3. If I'm willing to take him about, I don't know, 5 to 10 picks ahead of ADP. I know my RB2 is locked in there that I feel pretty comfortable with. And I don't know, it kind of feels like free money at this point for Jordan Mason. So maybe I'm wrong and he's just the guy that wasn't that good when he got drafted and the talent just isn't there consistently. And it was a Kyle Shanahan magic trick, but I'll wait to be proven wrong on that one. Any strong feelings on Jordan Mason?
I did see a comment that made me think more about him, as he said, Jordan Mason is David Montgomery, but 50 picks cheaper. I don't think it's quite 50 picks anymore, but it made me think. I'm like, Detroit's going to regress a little bit, and Jordan Mason is going to be that between the tackles, first and second down kind of guy, and maybe end up stealing some red zone goal line touches from Aaron Jones, and I'm here for it. I actually we'll start paying more attention to him in my auction league, in my auction draft next week. But yeah, I'm warming up to him for sure, and I'm kind of glad you brought it up because it's not something I've thought much about until the last few days, and especially with Aaron Jones Jr. Like he's got to be, what is he, 30 now? 31
at least, yeah. And he's either gonna miss time or they're gonna limit his usage to the point where he stays healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two options of the Aaron Jones experience at this point in time. Like sometimes he will get those 100 yards and a touchdown off those 10 touches. Like that's phenomenal, but that also doesn't hurt what's going on with Jordan Mason. It's either use Aaron Jones till he gets hurt or use Aaron Jones to the limit before he gets hurt. That leaves a lot of running back touches. And then I just don't think they're going to be a team that throws the piss out of the ball with a quarterback that's getting his first couple starts. It kind of looks like and it kind of looks like that's what the team is built to do, is grind you in and then let JJ McCarthy kind of like ease into what he's doing and hit Justin Jefferson on some like really select shots. So
that offense is just, it doesn't seem like there's any real reason they will ever regress because they got a coach calling the right shit. Like I just love I just love what he's able to figure out, even with seemingly subpar quarterback play. He's like, I got the best receiver since Jerry Rice, and we can just start there and we'll work around it and we're gonna make this thing hum.
Yep. Next on the list is a free square of Cam Skadaboo. Going 114 outside the top 100. I don't think this is an early season play. I think it's definitely later in season play whenever they get tired of Tyron Tracy shit. Yeah, he's already hurt a little bit, but I mean, he reminded me of somebody. I mean, it's like Kyron vibes, where it's like all the physical limitations, but then the coach can't stop using him. Like Kyron runs like a 4.65 and like Sean McVay is like, I don't give a shit. I love that guy. Like Dable already loves the dude. And then I just don't think Tyrone Tracy is like that strong a competition. And I think the last month, I don't know, more of the season, they're not going to be playing for anything, and it's going to be let's see what Scadaboo can do on the ground and through the air. So very good pass catcher, abysmal in pass protection, but yeah, I think he was a badass at college for a reason, and I think the coaches are going to fall in love with him because that's what people do with Cam Scadaboo.
It's interesting you've chosen 3 guys in the most ambiguous backfields that are out there. And and honestly, to your credit, that's one of the keys of figuring out fantasy football, and one of the ways that you get value over, draft or acquisition cost is planting your flag on these ambiguous backfields. Like Caleb Johnson, Jordan Mason, Cam Scadaboo are all going pretty close to their backfield mate on the same team. And one of them is going to way outperform their ADP. And, I think I love that you're being aggressive and planting flags on these guys.
I think the only
Tracy love.
Yeah, I don't either. I think the only one that I'd be like, take both in the Denver kind of style that we were talking about is probably Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson, where I'm like, take both. Somebody's going to get the majority of the touches. That offense is not going to be high octane, but I also don't want to like take Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason, assuming you have an RB2, and then Aaron Jones is just dead. So that's definitely a possibility. So yeah, I mean, I think I have a read on some of these muddy backfields, and then I like Bill. Bill seems like fun. If he's the starting running back at the Commanders, I think there's a lot of fantasy goodness to be had, a lot of points to be scored. They're gonna need something, man. If Terry's out for a while, that's gonna be a horizontal ass offense with Cliff Kingsbury and whatever there is to get out of that running back position. It'd be really fun if he did it. So it's more of a fun kind of storyline thing. But yeah. I'm gonna go piss real quick. I'm just gonna keep it recording and I'll pick up right where I picked off, okay?
Well, yeah.
Okay. I don't want to piss in my backpack over here.
Fitz, is there anybody who's off your board? Like guys that you're not even thinking about? Because there's 2 free squares out there right now, Mixon and Judkins. But anybody else that you're just to answer this question, like just guys that you're not even thinking about drafting.
That are considered to be draftable. It's Marshawn Lloyd, who is the backup in Green Bay. Not considering him at all, but I didn't realize he was going so late. I hadn't even thought about him. Raheem Mostert, no interest. He's getting drafted at 160.9. Are we going that how low you're talking about?
No, I'm just mean like somebody that you don't understand their ADP at all.
I see. I'll go higher. Any position you mean?
I mean, this is the running back show, so let's stick to running back.
Let's see. Tyron Tracy. Just zero interest in him. I'm not taking any shares of ETN. It's really tough to settle
in Jacksonville. Then,
who's my running back? It's Tank.
Yeah, all right.
I like his call on Scadaboo. Scadaboo is, I'm sure you saw the Arizona State Texas game, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, A, I didn't know he could catch passes like that. B, he's one of the toughest motherfuckers I've ever seen. Like, he will play in an NFL backfield and he will be able to run through linebackers. He is going to be a tough motherfucker to bring down. And when they get on the goal line, that's what they're going to do. He was really impressive, man. And I he just has this wonky name, and it's like, I thought people loved him because he had this weird name, and then I watched him like, this dude's for real. And I love that call by Mike by putting him in there. This, like you said, a very ambiguous backfield. And what round is that? That's got to be 10th round for
Yeah, he's
Scatterboo.
going early 10th.
Love it. Love that call. The other thing is Braylon Allen is just like people are fading Breece Hall and his ADP is super low, but nobody's doing anything about bringing Braylon Allen's ADP up. Something's not right here.
That's a big reason why. There's talk out of Jets camp that they're going to mix him in and give him some maybe early down work.
You got to put your bet on somebody. Like you can't just like say Breece Hall's dead and then okay, so who's benefiting from that?
Yeah, my guess, I think I said it briefly, was that it's just going to be a committee, like who's the third back? I forget who's the third guy in New York?
Isaiah Davis.
Yes. Yeah, and he looked pretty good too. I think his efficiency stats were good last year. So I really wonder, like, is it going to be like a West Virginia, like a spread option kind of offense that they may just run it and just narrow it down to a tight end and a receiver, and there you're just going to run and throw to those two guys, and that's going to be your 90 to 95% of your offense, and running with Justin Fields, and it can work. You can make that work. You can't win a title with it, but Pittsburgh basically got to the playoffs last year, running just a really jerk off offense like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can get 20 points out of it a week if your skill position guys are fine. Rest in peace, DK Metcalf. Sorry about your life this year. That's about to happen to you.
Fan.
And yeah, like you said Pittsburgh last year, and I was like, yeah, it's gonna suck. I'm proud of both of you that I left the room for 2 minutes and you didn't start talking about Joe Mixon somehow. So
no,
well, we actually brought him up. So the question while you
guys, oh god damn it!
So the question while you were gone was who's off your board, because I think that's just as important as who you're highlighting. And I said there's 2 free squares, one of which is Joe Mixon.
Oh god damn it!
Who's
I knew y'all are gonna get around. I know, but they just can't help yourselves. Who's off my board? I can tell you. I can do this real quick. Probably Chase Brown's off my board.
Spicy.
I haven't taken him anywhere.
Pacheco's off my board.
Yeah, I should have said that. Was the first one that sort of made me think about it, but yeah, that's a good one. Aaron Jones
Travis
Sr. probably.
Etienne's way off my board. Yeah, that's the guys that matter, I guess, that I will just have absolutely zero of. Yeah.
Chuck?
I mean, they're older guys. The most dopamine that I can feel in a room is when someone takes Derrick Henry ahead of me in the second round, so I don't have to think about it.
In the second round.
Yeah, that does feel good. And you're like, whew. All right. Don't have to rationalize passing on the guy that's going to run for 1,700 yards.
I told you, I've never owned him for all the same shit that you bring up. Like, I just never have pulled that trigger. But this year, it's like, okay, what are we doing? I don't see myself pulling the trigger on Genty anywhere. Can't.
That one's tough.
I love the kid. Love the kid. Love everything about him. Hate the offense.
Yeah, that one's super tough. Okay, so if you could, I call this, if you've paid attention to previous years, this is a little bit of a drafting in reverse, where I have a read on a guy, whether it's Bucky last year before, I think was Raheem Mostert. These dudes that are going rounds 10 plus, where I'm like, I don't need to fuck around with RB2 because I found one and no one else sees this. Drafting in reverse, or knowing you're walking into a draft with a guy preloaded on your team because you're willing to go around ahead almost, that is outside of the top 100 at the running back position. Krosky Merritt's a fun one, but do you have a guy that you're like, this is the guy that's going to catch me whenever I'm falling at running back outside the top 100 that you wish you could preload on every team? I'll ask Chuck, I guess, first.
Yeah, I've got 3 names. I'm cautiously dipping my toes into the Jaden Blue waters just because I don't trust anybody else in that backfield. And I think the Cowboys are going to throw it a lot. And who's going to benefit from that? Jaden Blue. I like Dylan Sampson a lot. I liked him a lot as a prospect. Hated when he got drafted behind Judkins in Cleveland. And suddenly Quinshon Judkins no longer a problem. And then the last one I'm also kind of reluctantly kind of wading into is Woody Marks, just because that offensive line and that running back are both disasters, and somebody's going to be somewhat valuable. So why not Woody Marks?
How about you, Fitz? You see any guys down that, or do you have 6 running backs already by the time you get to 100?
Well, I probably am, and I mentioned earlier J.K. Dobbins. He's not free, but pretty close to it, and in the backfield, as we've kind of beat this horse dead, but yeah, he's an automatic click for me if he's still sitting around, especially if I have RJ Harvey. But even if not, like J.K. Dobbins could easily get over 1,000 yards this year with that offensive line. He's going to get he may get volume on all 3 downs, especially if RJ Harvey's having problems with pass protection. And then, why not have some fun with Bill?
All Bill all the time. Let me load up the ADP screen so we can look at it while we do it. I think the 2 guys that interest me the most, if I could just preload them on every team, is the outside the top 100. If I can get Charbonnet and if I can get Tootin, I feel pretty good about my running back room. Like, as long as I didn't completely fuck around and leave myself like an empty bag. If I have 2 running backs before I get to that point, so, someone in the 1st through 3rd and then someone a little bit later, and then I'm like, okay, time to clean this up. Time to tidy this thing up a touch. If I get Charbonnet and then Tootin, I'm like, there's the upside. There's the stability. Because every time Zach Charbonnet started, he's a hit. It's a big hit. So those are my 2 guys. I think that'd be fun to preload those guys on every single team. But there's your guys that are going a little bit behind 100 in that range. Najee Harris down there at 142, Chuck. I'm surprised you didn't
Off the board.
Go after that. Yeah, and we might all be singing the regrets of Quinshon Judkins later in the season whenever he's just like being a badass like week 6 or 7. But I don't know. We'll all be in the same boat, I guess. So I don't know who the guy is that's just screaming from the mountaintops to take Judkins at this point.
Yeah, that's going to be a hard one to figure out if he does sign. I mean, at the time we're taping, he hasn't. But yeah, who's gonna steal that backfield? Somebody going to do it.
Yeah, I don't know how much there is to gain, but somebody has to. All right, that is our running back preview. Any closing thoughts on the position this year before we step off and head to the wide receivers?
Draft Derrick Henry.
Don't. Just don't. Honestly, like fading Derrick Henry last year felt fine. Fading Saquon felt horrible. Like watching him, so I vividly remember sitting watching, I think it was Monday Night Football week 14. And it was down to the wire, and I was watching I can't remember who they were playing. And I remember going, all right, as long as he doesn't score another 40-yard touchdown, I'm going to win this league. And he did. But I never had that feeling with Derrick Henry last year. There was no like massive week-winning, league-tilting performances. It's going to happen again. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine.
I just remember watching Saquon do that, and I remember all the discussions we had last year, and I didn't really have to bring it up because it was out there for all to see. like every week you felt it. I did have him in my auction league, and it was good feeling, man. He was cheap. He's not cheap anymore, and that's when you want to get him before the year that they do pop. And maybe that's Jahmyr Gibbs this year. Who knows?
Yeah, fuck Derrick Henry. All right, on to wide receivers we go. See you on the next episode.